Now, Micah, I know you've worked with Dan and Robert before, but Jake, what about the project really caught your interest to be a part of it?
I had seen villains that Micah and those guys had created and made together and loved it, and I like I'd never seen a script that had this mix and like twisting and blending of two, maybe three genres altogether, and thought like, how do we do this? Like what a fun little adventure to go on to like explore all of this. And I was a fan of Micah's, and yeah, just like the timing was right. It all kind of felt like every box was checked to then go like, okay, let's jump in. Let's do it. Let's make something.
And so, Micah, what was your first thought when Dan and Robert approached you with the script and the idea for the film?
Oh, I was just hoping it was going to be good because I really wanted to work with them again. My first experience was just so amazing, and so I was really hoping I would love it, and I did, and their vision for it really came through, and they've I mean, I think you've seen it in Villains as well, but they're able to kind of thread this needle of different genres and blend them together, which I think is so fun. So yeah, I mean, I was just so excited to work with them again.
Well, it does really blend those genres very well, much like Villains did. And you both walk this really interesting tightrope of performances. I'm trying to stay spoiler free, but
yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. Jake, I'll turn to you first though, because we did also recently speak for a friend of the family where you also similarly had to walk an interesting tightrope for the first couple of episodes, and I'm curious what that was like for you, doing it in a very different field with this film.
Yeah, in this one, in the making of this, you're like very aware of an audience watching it at some point, that you, in creating it, have to figure out when to let them in on what's happening and when not to, and how to not tip your hand, and how to still stay true to the world you've built and the circumstances you've built without giving it away until you want to kind of show what's happening. And the other is that, in A Friend of the Family, that is the audience is the family that Robert Berchtold is manipulating, that he's constantly aware of what he's presenting to them and what he's keeping to himself. But in this sense, like in this movie, it was a significant other. I found like it just was collaborative between Micah and Dan and Bobby to be like, what is this moment? How much do we share here, and how do we not? And how, with Matt, the DP, like, what can we show and what can we hide and what can we sell and what can we, like navigating that was so fun and fulfilling. And then ultimately in the edit, they get to choose like what works here and what doesn't, Yeah, it was great.
And then Micah, for you, what was it like similarly walking that tightrope of not giving the game away, but giving little clues here and there?
Yeah, I mean, it was challenging, because as the actor playing this role, like I know what's going on internally, but having to sell something also to the audience that maybe is different to keep, everyone kind of on the edge of their seats. So playing both sides, it was challenging, but also like really quite interesting, because I don't think I'd ever really done something like that before. And again, it was all very collaborative, working off of Jake, and also a huge part was like the camera work and working with the DP and showing certain things and hiding certain things. So, it was a dance.
Micah had been really helpful. I had this idea early on about like, I was going to do a scene and then at the end, like turn to camera and just wink. And she was like, I wouldn't if I was.
I would maybe just not do
that. Do you think save
yeah.
it for later? And she just said, probably not at all. Probably let the audience have that feel. You don't need to into the lens.
You don't want to, not quite the fourth wall breaking movie, I guess, right?
No, I was like out the gate, like we're in the Jeep, and I was like, ready to go? Wink.
That's hysterical. Since you do talk or have both mentioned though playing off of one another, your your relationship in the film is really an interesting one in that there is some strain, but there is still that love there. What was it like developing that that really unique bond with one another off camera before filming?
I kept trying to meet up with Maika, and she kept saying, "Let's save it for the day." And then on the day we'd do her coverage first. So I was intimately like connection with a Prince tennis ball for most of my coverage. But no, it was one. She's fantastic. Like we were saying earlier, like if you're fortunate, everybody says, "Oh, we're gonna have all this rehearsal time," and then just by the virtue of like filmmaking and what goes into pre-production, that gets like whittled away until you hope for like an afternoon to just meet each other and build something. And but thankfully we had a few days where we could like really go through the script with Dan and Bobby and be like, what is this moment and what is that thing and what's this, what's the past that they have that leads to this and what's the expectation for both of them, and trying to like hammer out those points. And then for me, like connecting that into something that I have experienced or I can imagine or is parallel to something, and then just hoping that you get on set with someone like Maika, who's like also doing that work and available and open, and you hope then that reads as like people who have a past and not as folks that landed in Portland 3 days ago. Like that's the, I don't know, name of the game in a lot of ways.
And Maika, anything to add?
No, I mean, I agree. We were lucky we did have some time before, which is always nice. But also I feel like we just got along, we were, it was also only 2 actors this whole time. So, we had a lot of time on set together where we're just, sitting, and I was just laughing a lot. I think there was a time where Jake was like, I'm gonna actually remove myself because we were just, it got out of hand. But no, I mean,
there was a scene that was like, I'm just gonna leave. Like, this is
I was just like, we have to separate because it's getting out of hand.
Like anyway, not being professional, like not focusing on the work, being like, okay, all right.
Yeah, no, we have to just, man, no, but it was an absolute blast. We had a great time.
It's also, you're like filming outside. It's 4 a.m. It's raining. You've been shooting for hours. There's only 2 of you. It's pitch black. Like you're both trying to like keep the energy up because you have to shoot till the sun rises, but also then stay focused. And for Maika, so much of that is like being terrified for her life, and I'm like in the woods, like making jokes with trees. You're like, okay, all right, man, like let's try to find a happy medium.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And so since you say that, I mean, this did look like it was probably a pretty physical shoot. Were you both like familiar with backpacking at all prior to this, or was this sort of your first real experience with that?
I had done a fair share of outdoor activities, camping and backpacking. So yeah, no, I felt pretty comfortable. I kind of had to play up the, uncomfortableness. Uncomfortableness?
Discomfort.
Jake, go ahead. Please take it away.
I have some uncomfortableness with your grasp of the English language, Maika.
I gotta go.
Yeah, I'd grown up like backpacking and camping, and but never like on that like the scale of nature in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up in the Northeast, so a lot of the same like trees, but twice the height and 3 times the width. You're just like, this is insane. Like the nature out here is like nothing I've experienced. And really a lot of it is, I mean, it's just beautiful. You know what I couldn't have been happier to be in the Pacific Northwest in the fall. It's stunning. Like it was remarkable. It really was incredible to be shooting there.
Well, I'm glad that you both got to have that wonderful experience then, because it turned into a wonderful movie that I really can't wait to spread the word about. So thank you both so much for taking the time to chat. I greatly appreciate it.